let's talk about the single arm kettlebell power clean. So we're gonna be taking the kettlebell from the floor up into the rack. And the way I like to break this down is actually from the top down. So talking about the rack position first and then going from there. So let's talk about the rack position. So first things first, the way I like to grab a kettlebell when I'm doing a single arm power clean is I like to grab on the inside of the bell. So my index finger is gonna touch the inside of the kettlebell handle. And I'm gonna angle it back towards me. So as I clean that off the ground, my hand is already in a better position to get into the rack and also hold that kettlebell. So where the kettlebell is gonna be laying, the handle is actually gonna be at an angle in my hand. I'll show you here in a second. So I'll go ahead and clean it up. Boom. And the rack, here I am. Elbow nice and tight. I can open my hand. As you see, the handle is at an angle where I'm at. It's not straight across. That's gonna put a lot of pressure on your wrist. So that's where we wanna be. This right here is the rack. Elbow in nice and tight. Hand right underneath the chin. That's where we're trying to end up at. Let's go back down here. So where I see you guys end up is they're way the hell out here, okay? We're thinking about keeping close to the center line, exploding with the hips, and then I'm basically punching underneath the kettlebell. So that's what I want you to think about with the clean. When we set up, we're right over the top of the kettlebell, okay? So if you see me from the side, I'm right over the top. If there's an X between my feet, that's where the kettlebell's starting. From here, I'm gonna slightly push my hips back, load up the hammies. I'm gonna squat a little bit more than I would typically on a kettlebell setup with my knees because I'm directly over the kettlebell. I wanna generate a lot of power through the legs and the hips. And so I'm gonna be almost in between a squat and a deadlift setup. So I'm not too far back here, I'm not too far forward in a squat, I'm in the middle. That's gonna set me up good with my legs. Now, my upper body, I'm always nice and tight there. Chest up tall, shoulder blades tight, engaged. From there, I'm gonna grab my kettlebell. So I'm here, I'm set, I'm grabbing on the inside of the bell. I'm nice and set here. I'm gonna drive and initiate the movement from the hips. Extend the elbow. Imagine there's a little string. It's attached to your elbow and your hip. It's gonna keep that elbow nice and tight. So we're here, we're letting the kettlebell get moved by the hips. So we're exploding up, and then I'm just gonna think about slipping underneath the kettlebell. Keep the kettlebell in tight. Imagine there's a wall right here. That kettlebell's not gonna hit it. So this is not like a swing movement here. It's gonna be straight up and under, okay? So imagine that wall's right here. The kettlebell's not gonna touch it, because if it does, that's where you're gonna be getting into beating up the forearm because the kettlebell's flipping over. So I'll show you a rep here. We're all set. Get the hips loaded up, back's tight. Right there. Ended up in that rack position. Now to bring it back down, is simply just flip it over, touch the floor here. Stay tight. Right there. Back down. Up. And that rack, notice, I'm opening my hand. Okay, when I catch it, boom, here, I don't have a death grip on the kettlebell the whole time. So especially when I clean it here, if I have a death grip on it, that kettlebell's gonna be a little off, right? I wanna be loose, but what I should see, and what you wanna go for is a nice straight line. So wrist, forearm, everything's straight. We're not cocked back with the wrist. Again, it all starts with that grip on the kettlebell. But that right there, those are the key things that you need to focus in on with your kettlebell power clean. So I'll do one more rep here to show you. Grabbing the kettlebell on the inside, getting down nice and low, all set. Boom. Set it back down. That's your kettlebell power clean right there.